Hello everybody, welcome back to my television review series. Today we'll be breaking down and discussing Yellowstone Season 1. Just finished watching it, thoroughly enjoyed it. The typical thing, talk about the setting since this is a new series, plot synopsis, best I can remember it, notable scenes, character development, how the characters change throughout the season. I'll give you my overall grade and we'll talk about some major themes. So setting, modern day Montana. With some flashback scenes, but modern day Montana. You have the Yellowstone Ranch, which is headed by the patriarch John Dutton, and he's got, it's a ranch that's been in their family for a long time, very expensive property in the state of Montana. Kind of interesting, I'm pretty sure Yellowstone is actually in Wyoming, is it not? I think so, I'm not going to Google it because I got the cast list up here. But so I thought Yellowstone would be in Wyoming, but it's in Montana. I think Billings, Montana. Not I think so, but somewhere in Montana, modern day. You have the main patriarch. You also have Chief Thomas. The big plot development goes back and forth with an Indian reservation. So Chief Thomas is the newly elected chief of the Indian reservation, which I forget which one it's like. Coldwater or Rockstone or so just some Native American name. And you also have Governor Linnell who plays a pretty big part. So you have the Dutton Ranch, the state of Montana political environment, and you have the Native American reservation. So the season opens up, John Dutton sees a car crash with a horse in it, and he compassionately puts down the horse by shooting it. And so the very first scene, what you have is in the Dutton crew, the mother has passed away. You learn later on or somewhere that Beth, the Dutton crew is John Dutton, Jamie Dutton, I think is his second oldest son, Casey Dutton is a son, Beth Dutton, and there's another John Dutton there, so I'm assuming that's his first son. And then Lee Dutton, question mark, I'm not exactly sure who that is, and just going off the character list. But the first episode, basically what happens is, and John Dutton is also the head of they have like an agricultural or like cows, like a police force for like cows because of farming and ranching and stuff. So he's also like the head person of that in the political environment. But so basically, they have some cattle wander on to the Indian reservation inadvertently. The Dutton crew and the other ranchers, they want to get them back. And the reservation police won't let them. So they go back and forth quite a bit there, and then they decide to ride in during one night and go and get the cattle back. And so during that time, Casey Dutton, who was in the army, has gotten some notable awards. He's married to an Indian lady, Monica Long, ... I'm sure it's not Monica Long, like the movie we broke down yesterday. Probably like Longfoot or Longtooth or something, some Native American name. So he's married to a Native American, and they live on the reservation. So Casey kind of has a little more sway, just with the Native American people. And so when they're going back to get the cattle, I'm assuming it's the oldest son dies during the time. Basically, Monica's brother, who's on the Native American reservation. The cattle police, which is a lot of the Duttons, ride in to take back the cattle. Monica's brother shoots, I'm assuming it's John Dutton Jr., and then Casey kills Monica Long's brother, he's married to Monica. So that develops into something throughout. That's pretty much the opening scene. And so Casey and Monica have a son, Tate, again half Native American, half white dude. And there's a scene there. Another plot development for this is they're driving back one day. Casey and Tate, they're driving down the road and they see a van, and one of the Native American females had been kidnapped and was about to get raped. I don't think she actually gets raped, but she was about to get raped. And Casey kills them both. Shoots one right on sight, the other one's running away. He lassos him, pulls his head, or like pulls his leg, and his head falls and hits the rock. During that time, Tate Dutton's along with him, but his son's young, 8 years old. So he puts him in a sewer drain, not in a sewer drain, but just like a pipe under a road, just to keep safe. There's a big rattlesnake. Tate stomps it to death. Casey's pretty happy about that. But Casey, or the girl that was in the van, doesn't want to report to the reservation police. So basically the Native Americans, her husband or her father, whoever, they were like, let's just go back and bury the bodies themselves. They bury the bodies, and then they also burn the bodies. I guess that's Native American lore, to burn bodies to trap their soul as well. And so it's another big plot development. But now Casey has killed Monica's brother and doesn't really want to tell her. So he goes to, say basically, I'm going to go back into the army to keep you guys safe. And that leads to later on, what happens is she's a school teacher on the reservation. She's going to break up a school fight. One of the kids throws a punch at the kid, misses the kid, hits Monica, cracks her across the skull. She falls down and hits her head really bad on the cement. So she has brain damage. She goes into a coma. They're not thinking that she's going to last very long. She comes out of it. She has some memory problem, motor skill problems. She says she doesn't remember Casey, but she does. And then she basically leaves him because Casey tells her that he killed her brother, but she's just like more trying to, says, I'm leaving you to take care of our son better. And I think at the end of the season, she looks like she's regretting it. She goes to live with her grandfather, and I think her grandmother. I don't know if she has dementia or something, but they're both in wheelchairs. Tate's sobbing, and Monica's not too happy. So throughout the series, they're married, and then they end up breaking up because of Casey basically not telling her why he wants to go to the army because of killing her brother in the first kind of episode. Jamie Dutton, he is, again, I'm assuming the second born, because I'm assuming John Dutton's the guy who gets killed in the first episode. It makes sense to have the same name. But he is the lead counsel for the Dutton Ranch. He's a lawyer. Throughout the season, he gets Governor Linnell and John Dutton banging out once. So they're all kind of playing political stuff. John's trying to protect his ranch. Definitely into some criminal activity if need be, but really not like, it's a crime show, but more of just like a drama series, which again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll give you my grade. But throughout, Jamie's the lead counsel. Governor Linnell wants to appoint him after Attorney General Stewart steps down or doesn't run for office anymore. And again, John's playing, the politics, the governor's playing the politics. And he starts running, and then, they have some falling out with John Dutton and Jamie. So he cuts Jamie off completely. He loses he's off the payroll, he loses the car, he loses all of the perks of being a part of the ranch, gets kicked off the ranch. John beats him up. He's got an assistant for his campaign. They're basically at the end, they get infiltrated by just like a investigative journalist probably, which is a lesbian lady. I think it's Tanya Betty playing Avery. But it's just some sort of investigative journalist trying to report on John Dutton's criminal activity. And so at the very end, she's like, tell me everything, or this is the end of your political career. So Jamie, throughout the season, gets cut off and gets kicked out of the family. Casey, again, lives on the reservation. At the end of the season, comes back to live with John after Monica leaves him. And throughout this entire time, there's another big player, Dan Jenkins, who's basically like a condo developer. And so he's buying land. There's this scene where John doesn't want Dan, Dan's playing golf. He's like, don't do this to my land. And Dan's gonna do it anyway. So John reroutes the river, basically blows up river on his land to divert water rights or the ability to access water where Dan is developing the land. So Dan and Chief Thomas of the reservation, they're working together. They're going to build a casino and a hotel, one for one. Dan has one, Chief Thomas has one, and what they're trying to do is build enough property so the property tax goes up on the Yellowstone Ranch so much that John Dutton can't afford to pay it. So that's the real big plot thing for Chief Thomas and Dan Jenkins throughout the season. At the very end, again, throughout this, Kate or Beth, who's Beth Dutton's character. She's the daughter. She's runs merger and acquisitions for a big firm, sleeps around a lot, drinks a lot. John's right-hand man that aren't his kids is Rip Wheeler. You learn about Rip Wheeler, you learn about him. He was from a very abusive household. His father beat his brother and mother to death, and so Rip jumps on his back and beats him to death with a frying pan. John Dutton, and this is a flashback scene, because John's probably 65, Rip is probably 45. And so this is a flashback when Rip was a child, but John was the one who found Rip, and that's how Rip became his right-hand man. Rip, and they brand, Casey has a brand, which John did to him. The other sons don't have a brand, but all of the criminals or people who get a second chance get branded to show loyalty, and they can't leave the ranch once they get branded. They're there for life. And so Rip, at the very beginning of the season, brands a guy named Jimmy, who's a thief, who's either going to turn him in or get branded and come work on the ranch. Gets branded. He's got a pretty funny role throughout. You know, he doesn't have a good hat. They buy him a hat. He's the dumbest dude on the ranch. Stuff like that. Rip Wheeler also helps in one of the initial episodes. Helps another guy. I don't know if it's a rancher trying to leave, but he helps him commit suicide. So Rip Wheeler, anytime John needs to bang some hits, Rip's the go-to guy. And so Beth is trying to fuck up Dan Jenkins by literally fucking up his family. She tries to bang, or leads him on to bang him or something, gets his wife. Dan has a promiscuous or just, out there wife. Dan's a big billionaire. He's in some debt though, or all of his money's leveraged or something in the development. But Beth is trying to introduce, Dan's wife to her assistant, who's a guy, just to fuck him up that way. And so another big development throughout the season is killing a grizzly bear. So you meet Sheriff Donnie, and again, they're all kind of coming for John Dutton and his ranch and his property. And so there's a scene where there's a bunch of Asian tourists looking at a grizzly bear. John shoots a gun up in the air and is like, leave, 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 this is all my land. And it's like, it's not safe for you. And so they don't really believe him. John tells Rip to chase the grizzly bear off of the ranch so it doesn't kill the cattle. And it's a federal crime to kill grizzly bears because it's an endangered animal. And so Rip is tracking down the grizzly bear when he sees two Asian tourists literally hanging off a cliff because they got scared by the bear and they weren't familiar with the topography. And so they're hanging on. He tries to throw a lasso down to save them. It doesn't work. They both start clamoring for the rope, and they both fall back and die. So you got a dead grizzly bear who Rip has killed in self-defense legitimately. Sheriff Donnie's absolutely gunning for Rip Wheeler, and John Dutton basically says, didn't find the shell casings where Rip said they were exactly there. They send out federal authorities to investigate. The first one they send out, Rip Wheeler and her are riding out on horses. He's like, there's a horse fly on the back of your horse. If it bites the horse is gonna go crazy. She's like, no, don't touch my horse, don't touch my horse. The horsefly does that, and then takes off and basically runs into some barbed wire. And the inspector from the federal agriculture or livestock crew falls back and gets impaled by a metal stake for a fence. And so she ends up living, but Rip's like, no, you're not dying on me because if you die, they're gonna think I did it to you. And so she ends up living. Another wildlife officer comes out. A bunch of wolves eat the bear, so they can't really do an autopsy throughout the night. But the second federal livestock dude determines it was self-defense. They find Sheriff Donnie has been hiding the shell casings that he did find that Rip said were there, and legitimately the Asian people just fell backwards. And so they're all kind of gunning for each other. And that's really what happens there. Anything else? Yeah, so at the end of season 1, again you have John Dutton, I think Junior dead, one of the sons, the first son. Monica's left Casey. Casey's now joining John. There's a dude named Walker who says, he's not gonna. Yeah, I don't know if this is the guy that got out of prison, but I forget how. There's one other dude that gets branded and joins the ranch. It might be Walker, might not. Again, there's a bunch of other stable cowboys, just like the bunkhouse, the stable house workers that work on the ranch. One other dude gets whacked by one of the older guys, one of the older ranch hands. I'm not sure exactly who it is, but old white dude with a mustache that's in the stable. It might be Lloyd Pierce, or it might be, I don't know, I can't tell. Yeah, I think it's Lloyd Pierce. Old white dude with a mustache that works. Yeah, should be him. Or maybe Emmett Walsh. I just can't tell. But one dude wants to leave the ranch, and John says, take him to the bus. The guy's like, do you want me to take him to the bus stop or the train stop? And John says, give him the long black train stop. So go kill him. They just shoot him off a cliff and throw his stuff in a ravine. So the big resolution to this one, again, Jamie's out, and because they can't get Dan Jenkins and Chief Thomas off their back, Rip Wheeler has like a stripper girl record what's going on. And then John's like, this can't happen. So at the very end, Casey is now looking like Casey or Rip's going to be like John Dutton gets cancer throughout, or has colon cancer removed, so he's not looking too long on the days to come. And so because they can't get through or get Dan to stop or Chief Thomas to stop, and now they learn the plan about raising the property taxes, they hang Dan Jenkins. So Dan dies at the end of season 1. Again, Monica's left Casey, Jamie's out, Beth is still with John. Again, she's pretty much a savage. Not really exactly sure who Lee Dutton is. Any other character development I want to talk about? Looking through, there's a Father Bob. Everybody in the town owes John Dutton stuff. I didn't even see where Danny Trudeau was in this thing. Mo is like another Indian dude, chief counsel to Chief Thomas. That's probably the big character development. And so again, not all of the scenes, there's probably some other stuff in there, but those are the main plot developments as well. So overall, great. Really, really enjoy it. I'll give it an A- just because for room for improvement. But thoroughly enjoying it. I really like, again, certainly a crime drama, but it's not just super unrealistic or super, like I said, like Breaking Bad or even The Wire. It's newer. So I thought the cinematography of the filming, the presentation was very well done. Big fan of the Montana area. I went skiing in Big Sky one time. Really like the Western. Like I would not want to run a ranch, meaning I wouldn't want to have like horses and stuff. But I'd love to have a big estate out on the country. So the scenery, the going back and forth with the Native American reservation, the Yellowstone Ranch. I thought it was all very enjoyable. The only thing I didn't really like, again, some insecurity from the Beth Dutton character, again, after being the savage, again, because they lose their mother. I think it's in Beth's has a saying like, you don't know what it's like to have someone look in your eyes and be like, knowing they wish you were off the planet. It's like, yeah, I've gotten those eyes quite a bit. But she's like 40 and she's still like insecure about her mother's passing in childhood. So again, a little insecurity detracting there from her character. But besides that, really like Rip, really like John. I think all the other characters developed well. I think Monica's a very pretty lady. And so that's kind of where it leaves off. And so thoroughly looking forward to watching season 2. I think there's 4 seasons, maybe still filming. Major themes, again, running a ranch, I think it'd be super fun. Really like Native American culture. I was on a reservation very briefly. Just a quick story. I was at, again, when Susan treated me like shit, and I just got in a car to leave because I had to get out of Columbus so my stomach would stop feeling so tense so I could eat. I picked up a Native American hitchhiking, and again, not in like a weird way, but just talked for a couple miles and then dropped him off. But it just briefly just dropped him off, and that was about it. But again, I really like Native American culture, and I think the overall plot was very well done. So again, any other major themes? Not really. Yeah, it's just a drama with some crime in it, and thoroughly enjoying it. So, really like Yellowstone Season 1. I'll be looking forward to Season 2 and breaking it down soon. So thank you for watching my review. Hope to see you soon.